Good afternoon from Hopalong Hollow. This is Jerry, and we're starting the video out today with our tea of the week. And this particular brand is Fortnum and Mason. Queen Anne. I love to read the tea cans because they always give you such interesting information. Fortnum and Mason first began trading in 707 and quickly established a tradition for quality and service that has been consistently maintained. They have served every reign of British monarchy since and have been honored many times by royal warrants of appointment. It isn't very specific about what this tea blend is other than it is a smooth blend of carefully selected Assam and Ceylon teas with a strong, smooth tea that is refreshing at any time of the day. It also recommends that you drink it with a dollop of milk or cream. But before we get to the tea, I want to talk about the blue teaware that we have here today. What I really like to do with the blue teaware is just mix and match these pieces. So there are several different pieces here. Some are ironstone, some are Staffordshire ware, and just different types of china. But the first one that I chose was a really great hunting scene. I love these 18th century scenes, and generally on the bottom of the cup you'll find out who made it and where, but this one just says hand-painted and homestead, so I'm not sure exactly where this piece came from. But I've got a mismatched saucer, and this is also like a carriage scene, and on the back of this plate it does say coaching scenes by Johnson Brothers Ironstone Hunting Country, made in England. Johnson Brothers makes a lot of great tableware. They're pretty well known. Now this is a completely different cup, purchased in a different place, and just pick these up when I see them. You'll often find these just sitting by themselves in an antique store, just a lone saucer or a cup. This also looks like a coaching scene, and all I can make out on the bottom is that it was made in England. I don't know anything else about it, but what brings them all together, obviously, is the blue and white. These patterns are so great when you just mix them up. And then here we have a completely different scene, which looks like bringing in the sheaves, and there's nothing on the bottom. But just finding these plates, kind of like a fun hunt when you go out looking, or you're not even looking, and you find one of these little saucers or cups just by itself, or maybe a creamer, and that makes it so much like a treasure hunt. And generally you can pick them up pretty inexpensively, and before you know it, you've got a whole set of mismatched blue, and it really is quite striking. So here is a completely different saucer, which I really, really love that one. And this one was made by Adams Wedgwood Group in ironstone, English ironstone, made in England. Now, the only piece on the table that I actually know is quite old would be this pattern, which is calico. And this piece has got a lot of crazing in it. This is a pretty old piece. Not sure how old, but got a lot of stains inside the pot, too. It definitely was used a lot before I bought it. So, let's start with the tea. I think it's pretty much ready by now. And I think we should take the advice of the makers of the tea and add a little bit of milk, just a bit. These little tea strainers are great when you're putting loose tea in your pot, because obviously there are tea leaves floating around in there and you want to capture them without having to drink them. So I will pour yours first. And as you can see, it's capturing those tea leaves pretty well. Now, another thing you can do with these tea strainers is put your tea directly into the strainer and then pour your boiling water over the strainer and just let it steep for 5 or so minutes inside the strainer. But I just wanted to put the loose tea in the pot this time. And as you can see, it's captured quite a bit. And you can put your loose tea leaves or your little strainer in the strainer cup and put it to the side. My tea straight out of the pot just to taste it before I add any creamer. There could be such a subtle difference in the taste of teas. So even if you buy a really inexpensive tea like Lipton, you're still going to get a really good cup of tea. There's just something about drinking these really special, beautiful teas from companies that have been around for hundreds of years. Once again, very, very little of the leaves. And I'm going to... Well, they're absolutely right. It is very smooth, but it's also got a nice strong flavor to it. It's really a very traditional tasting tea. So if you like your tea to taste like tea should, without any flavorings in it or any special herbs like bergamot, chamomile, or lavender, just straight, good old-fashioned straight tea. This is really a good one. And it's Fortnum and Mason. You can buy it online. You can get the little tea strainers off of Amazon. And of course, as far as the teapot and blue teaware, this is something you'll want to collect piece by piece and just make it a fun scavenger hunt. Because that to buy it all at once, it just isn't quite the thrill as going out and trying to find these pieces one by one and stumbling upon them. You know, I often wonder what the trading tea company was that whose tea was dumped at the Boston Tea Party. I'd love to find out if they're still in business. That would be something Very interesting to know. So if anybody has any information on that, let me know. I'm going to put a little cream in my tea right now, and I'm going to add a little sweetener. Very good. So after we drink our tea, I think we will get busy and do a little bit of winter decor in here. I had planned on doing this a week ago, but we did our shows and we had, so I had orders to fill, and then I got sick. So instead of doing Christmas decor, it looks as though we'll be doing winter decor, which is pretty much the same thing, because you really want to have these beautiful colors in your house all throughout the winter, just to bring the outside in. And so using the dried flowers and a few bits of greenery from outside, we're going to bring them in the house and probably do a few things on the porch to enhance the appearance of the interior of the house with all kinds of wonderful natural things and beautiful things. So let's get with it. The first thing you're going to need, besides your dried flowers, is some greenery from outside, and in this case I have gathered some ivy. We have ivy in abundance growing around here, and if you have ivy growing in abundance, put it to work, put it in your house, use it for all sorts of wonderful things. So at this time of the year you can usually find a really nice rosemary plant which has been cut into a conical shape like a Christmas tree. A plant about this size costs around $20, at least where we live. And I always give them a good water before I begin, so I won't have to be watering it for a little while. It's a perennial herb, and I love to buy living plants because when I'm done with this season, these are going to go into the garden. And they just keep on giving and giving and giving. But over the winter months, they're beautiful in the house. They have a wonderful scent. This herb is used for cooking, but also a lot of use in crafts. Now, in this case, I've put this one in an old water bucket. A basket would be just as great, but as you can see, it's coming over top. The plastic is showing. I want to keep it in that plastic pot because that really retains water pretty well. And this one I have placed in a stoneware crock. And on this one I have already decorated it very simply with poppy heads and zinnias. I'm not going to do much else to this one. I want it to be pretty simple. I think this one I'm going to give it a little more flair by using the dried flowers. So I have roses and goldenrod. I have carnations, some kind of little weed from the field. These were asters, more zinnias, and some gorgeous roses. And maybe I'll grab a few more things as well. But I'm going to take, first of all, the ivy, and I'm going to camouflage this plastic around the edge just by wrapping it with the ivy. So all I'm doing is just wrapping the ivy around the very bottom here, just to hide that black plastic. I do this outside in the potager as well, in the clay pots that are outside as the finials for the potager fence. And I wrap ivy round and round those pots in the winter to give them some color because nothing's growing in them until the little bulbs grow that I've put inside for the spring. These could grow to be about 6 foot tall, but mine have never grown that tall. Mine have only gone, I don't know, 2 to 3 feet, and that's about as tall as I want them. And now we're just going to poke the dried flowers and the roses and all the filigree into this plant. And here's a tip for you. If you are lacking color of any flower, or you just didn't get around to drawing anything, go down to the grocery store and buy yourself a bunch of flowers. These carnations were actually in an arrangement. I didn't grow these in my garden. but they came in an arrangement, and before it got completely dried out, I pulled them up and hung them upside down and dried them. Otherwise, I wouldn't have this beautiful red color here. So if you're lacking flowers, roses, daisies, dahlias, all sorts of things are for sale all year long at a florist, but you're better off not going to a florist. Go to your local grocery store where they sell them in bunches, or Walmart too. They have them all the time. You know, I have so many beautiful Christmas ornaments that are really old vintage ornaments, but I have not taken them out in 2 years. It's because after we've done our shows and traveled around, and it's so late for me that I don't even get a chance to put up an actual Christmas tree. But you know what? I don't mind. I did it forever, and one year I might have the time to do it again. In the meantime, I think this is just as beautiful as any Christmas tree laden with lights and baubles. I really wish I had some more of these roses, because I wanted to make a wreath with these roses. Wow. They're very delicate. They're just, those petals really want to fall off. If they do fall off, collect them and throw them in your potpourri. And here we have a little loose one that's absolutely coming apart. So let's see. Oh, where can I lay this one? I'll just sort of tuck it in somewhere. Down here, I guess. There. What do you think? What does it need? So here I have some fluffy little seed heads from the clematis and just a few chive heads. We'll add that just to get some more white in there. Now I still haven't used my roses, my pink roses from my garden. Whoops. There, my pink roses from my garden. But I think I'll put these in a wreath. All right, well, we don't want to overdo it. I'd say that's a pretty lovely centerpiece. So easy to make. And keep it till spring. And then if you want to pull out your dried flowers and reuse them for something else, if they're still retaining their color, and they likely will be, you can use them in a completely different way, and then you can plant these evergreen rosemaries right into your garden. So, pretty and easy. And you don't even have to put lights on it. Just put a few little candles nearby, not too close, and there you've got the glow. Now let's step outside and I'll show you what I did out there. Here we have the wreath that I made 2 weeks ago. You can see that it's still holding on pretty well. Nothing has dropped off of it, and it's on a front door, so the door gets open and closed constantly. And the holly is still lovely and glossy and green, and all the dried flowers really look great. Here on the porch, I just filled the planters that normally hold annuals with a lot of moss on the bottom, a row of ivy along the edge, some allium seed heads, some privet berries, cedar, holly, whatever I could find. It's just a very unorganized, well, okay, that's not too unorganized. It's just a very simple and quick way to get some decor on your porch using everything that you already have. So there are 2 of these hanging on either side. And there's certainly nothing fancy about it. Actually, it looks like a child did it, which makes it even more fun. I was doing this in the dark, so I don't think it has a great sense of design to it, but that's okay. I like it anyway. My remaining greens, and I still have so many dried flowers, which I'm just going to continually use throughout the next few weeks to make different things. But I still have one little very small wreath form here, so I think I'll do something with these pink roses and a few other dried flowers that I have. It's almost a shame to take them down from hanging in the living room because they're just so lovely just hanging there. But that was the purpose. So we'll see what else we can do with it. Until next time, this is Jerry in Hopalong Hollow. I hope you have a great Christmas. And the next time around, we'll be doing something fun. I'm actually going to bake something.